Pokémon is the most successful media franchise of all time. The Pokémon world contains video games, an animated series, films, a manga, and a trading card game. Today, we will be going through all three lines of video games, being the core series, side series, and the spin-off series. The core series is a line of role-playing games, while the side series and spin-off games cover genres such as action RPGs, puzzles, fighting, and digital pets. Now, I personally love the video games since I was young, as my delight never faded. And today, we will go ahead and list all Pokemon games that came out since 1996. So grab your Pokéballs, make sure your Pokédex is updated, and find a spare tile map. Because we are heading into a world of incredible creatures, amazing nations, and where legends are as real as the air we breathe. Starting with the core series, these are the main storyline games, and the ones most fans are familiar with. Consisting of 38 games, 9 generations and regions, and 6 handheld consoles across the series, the main games are the cornerstone of the entire franchise. Beginning with the first generation, we have Pokemon Red, Green, Blue, and Yellow. All 4 games were released for the original Game Boy, and they featured the region of Kanto. The second generation of titles were game changers, as they featured full color and moving animation. This time around, the games were Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal, released for the Game Boy Color and featured the region of Johto. Following that, we got the popular third generation. Nintendo released Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, as well as 2 remakes. Those are Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. All 5 games were released exclusively for Game Boy Advance, with Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald featuring the region of Hoenn, while the remakes featured Kanto. Following that, we have the fan-favorite 4th generation, which gave us a new way of playing Pokemon due to its console. Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum were released, as well as 2 new remakes, Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. They were released on the Nintendo DS system, a double-screen console that brought new ways of engaging with the game. Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum featured the new region of Sinnoh, while Heart Gold and Soul Silver featured Johto and Kanto. Then came the 5th generation. We got Pokemon Black and White, followed by Black 2 and White 2, with all 4 games released for the Nintendo DS and taking place in the Unova region. The 6th generation began the trend of a simultaneous international release. We got Pokemon X and Y, as well as Ruby and Sapphire remakes, being Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. The 4 games were released for the Nintendo 3DS, with X and Y featuring the new Kalos region, while Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire featured Hoenn once more, as well as Kanto and Johto. The 7th generation crosses 2 consoles. We got Pokemon Sun and Moon, as well as the sequels Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. We then jump consoles with the games Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. First 4 games were released on the Nintendo 3DS, but Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee were released on the Nintendo Switch. Now Sun and Moon brought us to the new region of Alola, while Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee were set in the Kanto region. Moving on to the 8th generation, we got the release of Pokemon Sword and Shield and the remakes of Diamond and Pearl, being Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, as well as Pokemon Legends Arceus. All 5 games were released for the Nintendo Switch, with Pokemon Sword and Shield featuring the new region of Galar, while Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are set in Sinnoh. Now, Legends Arceus is also set in Sinnoh, but in the distant past, back when the region was called Hisui. Sword and Shield also had expansions with new areas to explore. Now finally, the 9th generation and the latest released. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet arrived, with both being released on the Nintendo Switch and featuring the new region of Paldea. Just like with Sword and Shield, both Scarlet and Violet received expansions with new areas to explore. Now we move on to the side series and spin-off series. The difference is that the side series connects to the core series with Pokemon or item transfer features, while the spin-offs are set in the Pokemon world but do not connect to the core series. The side series has 16 games, while the spin-off series contains 146 titles. I will condense the spin-off list and only include the number of titles each platform has, but you are welcome to visit my website boiledodinproductions.com for the comprehensive list. Now the side series contains the following 16 games. Pokemon Pikachu, set in the 1st generation and released as a pedometer. Pokemon Stadium, set in the 1st generation and released for the Nintendo 64. Pokemon Stadium 2, set in the 2nd generation and released for the Nintendo 64. Pokemon Pikachu 2GS, set in the 2nd generation and released as a pedometer. Pokemon Box Ruby and Sapphire, as well as Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, are set in the 3rd generation and released for the Nintendo GameCube. Pokewalker set in the 4th generation and released for the Pedometer. Pokemon Battle Revolution as well as My Pokemon Ranch are set in the 4th generation and released for the Nintendo Wii. Pokemon Dream World set in the 5th generation and released for the web browser. Pokemon Dream Radar set in the 5th generation and released for the Nintendo 3DS. Pokemon Go set in the 6th generation and released for the mobile. Pokemon Bank set in the 6th generation and released for the Nintendo 3DS. Pokemon Transporter set in the 7th generation and released for the Nintendo 3DS. And finally, Pokemon Home set in the 8th generation and released for the Nintendo Switch. Now, the spin-off series contains 146 titles. 37 are handheld titles, 20 are console titles, 20 are PC games, 29 are mobile games, 8 are Sega console titles, 17 are arcade titles, 10 are Pokemon minigames, and 5 titles featuring Pokemon, which are essentially the Super Smash Bros. Series. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 200 games released since 1996. For me personally, I would say Gen 4, closely followed by Gen 6, are my favorite generation of games. Now, while it may be a pipe dream, I really hope that the next games will be an open world adventure where we can explore all 9 regions. I know it is far-fetched, but a man can dream. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for spending your time with me. Until our next adventure, y'all stay classy.